In 2019, we were treated to a brief look into an upcoming game known as the Callisto Protocol, and from what we saw back then, the game could be seen to be any type of horror title, whether it was to be psychological or for survival horror. The answer for this was to be quite blurry, especially seeming as there wasn't any early access in the trailer for the gameplay. However, most would come to know that this game was to be under development by the legend that is the original creator to the Dead Space series, Glenn Schofield, which has led many into believing that this was indeed a survival horror game and that this was set in stone. In this video, we'll be going through the newest trailer that has just been released to us, analysing everything said and shown to us, and then I will be giving my take to what is being presented to us. In the first part of the trailer, we are shown a view of the landscape of the moon, along with the large planet in the background, giving us the location to be one of Jupiter's moons that is called Callisto, that the game will be taking place on. In the next shot of the trailer, we transition to a ground shot that then shows us a crackle of lightning in the sky, which is odd for a moon to be having lightning or weather occur without an atmosphere to be present, so perhaps this will play into the background lore within the game, as there could be a machine or something else producing weather on this moon as per a way to terraform the landscape into a more habitable environment, perhaps like the Weather Storm super weapon we have seen in the Command and Conquer series. In the following shot, we are treated to some more world building with a ship flying into a station to begin its landing procedure, with the station being called Corrections, which is interesting seeming as this is a penal colony or a prison on one of Jupiter's moons. Correctional officers are responsible for care, custody, and control of individuals who have been convicted of a crime and sentenced to imprisonment. They are also responsible for the security of the facility and its property as well as other law enforcement functions. So from this brief description, we can see that the prison has an entire department dedicated to this work, making sure that the prisoners receive the proper care, custody, and are introduced to a controlled environment. Going down further shows us that the prison's architecture isn't too different from our own, with the prison cells being clustered together and stationed on the ground floor to the additional floors with catwalks connecting the two sides of the room together for ease of access. So much like how Dead Space seems grounded despite being in the 26th century, the Callisto Protocol is going to feature elements that make the world and story seem much more believable and relatable, which is what you want to have in a horror story. So now we get a title card being called Crafton, which could have been a location of the prison, but more likely it is referring to a name of the prisoner we see walking up to a guard tower. So perhaps this is who we play as, or is a character we will interact with in the future, and who will narrate the next part of the trailer. In this shot, we are presented with a bridge section that will take us to distant parts of the prison or colony, giving us some intel about the moon's landscape, having chasms or ravines. In this part of the trailer, the narrator tells us that Callisto is known to be called the Dead Moon, with several bodies being frozen in the blizzards of the surface of the moon. Perhaps the guards had other ideas when it came to be escorting prisoners to death row, or maybe this is what happened to prisoners who died in prison or became uncontrollable, that they were either left outside to fend for themselves in the cold blizzards of Callisto, perhaps being the protocol that was to bite them in the ass. In this shot, we are shown a character when the narrator says "you," perhaps implying that this is who we will be playing as in the story. The suit he is wearing also looks similar to those in Dead Space, like a cross between the Astro suits the characters in Dead Space Extraction had worn and the engineering suits we wore in the first Dead Space game. Plus now, this is just me, but doesn't that guy kinda look like Danny Trejo? Another lore grab here is with this area looking like a surgical ward, showing us that the prison perhaps had a hospital built adjacent to the prison, or perhaps this was to be used for dental work. But a small hospital or surgical unit is more likely so that prisoners who were attacked can get their treatment as fast as possible so that they can continue with their sentence. In this shot, the character has something on his back, whether that is a piece of equipment like bolt cutters or something else is unclear as for now, but the green bar on the back of the neck does seem to indicate health, like the incognito rig system. Very clever, Glenn. However, here we are also treated to a weapon, even though we cannot see what it is, shrouded in the darkness, but this is a prison, so maybe this is a modified stun gun for some extra zap and zest, or perhaps a pistol. The game also shows us that this game will be a third-person perspective game, which does indicate survival, maybe being a factor here. The wall also shows C1 medical. So my previous statement about a medical unit being here is now confirmed. Whatever you are holding on, that's your old life. You've got to let that go. Another piece of dialogue that tells us that our character will be having some baggage. Perhaps Glenn is showing us how he would have made Dead Space 2, with what he would have done with Isaac, but in a new world and franchise filled with its own grisly danger. Maybe the main character has encountered this all before, like Isaac did before the events of Dead Space 2, which is a possibility. However, it's more likely whatever got him in the prison in the first place is the baggage here. Perhaps he was set up by a rival gang, or maybe he failed to save a loved one. When watching the first trailer, I thought that the robots may be a secret ally in this game, but nope, I was truly wrong. Glad I did not put my theory to the test, much like that guy. All jokes aside, perhaps an AI system has become self-aware in the time of this outbreak on Callisto, like HAL 9000 in 2001's A Space Odyssey, with it trying to cease the outbreak by purging all organic life. The narrator says that he is trying to give us a chance at rebirth, so perhaps something like in Dead Space is going to be driving people mad, which maybe there is something in the water supply like an alien virus, either in natural deposits of water or via an infection by some alien lifeform. Perhaps because Visual Games retconned the recombinant lifeform out of the series, Glenn will be bringing it back but in a different and revised way, along with another name for it, unless he wants to get sued. The enemies in this part of the trailer seem to resemble zombies much more than necromorphs, along with some that do look like necromorphs, that being much more disturbing sights rather than focusing on pure gore. The enemies also appear much like how a dead body would look like, with the discolored skin. So with my observations out of the way, what are my opinions about what we have seen so far? Well, to be honest, I'm actually happy with what I have seen, with the world building giving the game a darker environment, like how Asperia was to be described in Dead Space Catalyst, with the environment being very hostile towards them, which could have been the inspiration for said environment in this game, as there are some familiar themes to Dead Space, with letting something from your past go, people becoming deranged, the robotic guards trying to kill you like how in Dead Space 2 EarthGov soldiers were hunting Isaac down. My only fear about this game is that the story will just be another Dead Space idea, but set in another universe. which, don't get me wrong, it would be cool to see if this was to be a parallel universe to Dead Space, but I would also like to see something different, and personally I cannot wait for this awesome game to be released, which will be coming out in December 2022, nearly 2 months before the Dead Space remake. However, from what has been presented here today, I still think that this is going to be one awesome game that no Dead Space fan is going to want to miss, especially seeming as the remnant employees of Visceral Games, or at least, the more notable names have returned to build this story. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, then hit the like button. Comment your thoughts below and I look forward to hearing from you. Sign up to join the British Alliance today by subscribing and ringing in the notification bell so that you are always notified when a new video comes out, and be sure to check out those channel memberships by clicking the join button. And I shall see all of you among the cosmos, and be sure to have a good one.